24 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
It's time for a top 5, and in this episode, we're keeping our eyes peeled and our fingers on the pause button to find the top 5 uncredited cameo. Do over. It's so wordy. It's all right. All right.
Here we go.
It's time for a top 5, and in this episode, we're keeping our eyes peeled and our fingers on the pause button to find the top 5 uncredited cameos in movies. Stay with us. That's a mouthful. And we are live with a little behind the scenes. See, we're just human.
Yeah.
We're just nice. Human.
new logo and everything. Nice.
Yeah,
nice,
I came up with the new live logo. So this way, we can do it. So welcome everybody. If you're here to the 3324 podcast live on Facebook and on YouTube, hopefully, if we've done everything right. I'm Dean.
I'm Eric.
There he is.
There he is. I'm on this side now.
It's just, I'll just go like that and it'll be fine. So, and it is another Wednesday evening. So if you are here, throw a hello in the chat so we know that you're here and we can give you our greetings and salutations, hopefully. I don't have my phone with me. Usually I have my phone and I log in to see if we're live, but I'm charging my phone. So,
yeah, mine's about to die too. So look at that.
So I guess I need to
prepared.
I don't need my phone. I only ever use it for that. So I guess I should start. Yeah, there we go. We are live on Facebook. So
fantastic.
Cool. We're there. So throw a hello in. I did not check YouTube. Let me check YouTube real quick since no one else is here. And it could be a long evening if we're by ourselves.
That's all right. Just hang.
We are live, rock and roll. Yeah, we're good.
There's Christy. Hey there.
There we go. Christy is here saying hello.
Hello, hello.
What is this? Look, there's all this new updates to the software. So that's pretty neat.
You can't keep up with the tech. You just can't.
I'm trying. God knows I'm trying. God knows I am trying to keep up with when I log into this thing every 2 weeks and it's like, oh, there's new features and new things. So I have to like fool around with it and see if it's anything that's useful because most of the time it's not useful. So Christy is joining us on YouTube. So that's awesome. So the YouTube is working and the Facebook hopefully is working too. So let's get some hellos in the chats and highs and how are yous. And thank you everybody for joining us. And tonight's topic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, Eric suggested it and his son actually suggested the next topic, which is going to be a humdinger as well. Is going to be this week is rock and roll rivalries, which
the age old,
and I think we're gonna
the bands type.
Yeah,
Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hey, Elizabeth. Welcome. Long time no see.
Hello.
How are you? I got to start putting names in the wheel. John Robert. Hey, John.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Hello from Norwalk, CT. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Was just speaking to him on a cell phone via Beth. John R. We got Elizabeth.
Okay, so Dean, how many rivalries did you come up with? Do you have a list? Or
well, here's the thing. So before we get into that, let's do our housekeeping. Right? We always have to shill and make sure everybody knows what's coming and what went and what we mainly dragged you in here for is for the promotion and the advertising.
Well, maybe we should call it, maybe instead of housekeeping, we should call it anting up,
Well, housekeeping is kind of like, we got to get this stuff out of the way. Then we can get to the fun stuff, right? Just all like with your chores, like you got to do your housekeeping.
Yeah.
And then you can go watch TV and then you can go play Xbox or Game Boy. So, so tomorrow, as you know, every Thursday we have our new episodes coming out. Zach and I are happy we made it. Thank you, Zach. Via your proxy, Elizabeth, welcome.
He's in the background.
He's shouting out the orders, texting. type this now.
Yeah.
So tomorrow we've got a brand new episode coming out. It's a top 5. We haven't done one in a while. I was looking through our list and because we had done a couple of movies and had some guests, we kind of forgot the top 5s. So tomorrow we'll be uncorking a top 5, and it's an interesting one. It is the top 5 uncredited cameos in film.
Yeah. Some good ones. I think I think we did pretty good with this one.
It was fun.
It was fun. We had some really interesting choices.
It's always fun when we have to challenge ourselves, because then we really got to dig deep in our knowledge, and then maybe some research and enhance it and make sure that we're right. So I always like when I like the rules and the parameters, because it makes it interesting, and we really have to deliver something. So tomorrow will be top 5 uncredited cameos in film. This past Monday, our quick hit was a solo piece. It was the first just single subject, because it was big enough, is the return of ABBA to recording and to the music scene after almost a 40-year hiatus. So I felt that deserved the whole
special
segment.
Props. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That was big news that I've been waiting for years. Had heard about. They were recording songs like two years ago. There was 2 that was supposed to come out, and then the pandemic happened and all stuff. And then they have this stadium that is built in London just for them. Yeah. It's a ABBA auditorium type thing. So
I have to say, that's a great one. They sound really good.
Yeah. Oh, that's the great thing about it.
Incredible. Yeah. It's amazing stuff. Yeah.
Captain Obvious. ABBA spelled backwards is ABBA. It absolutely is. So yeah, that was my thing too, is when I heard the songs, I was like, yes. It literally was like almost no time had passed. They just sound so great vocally, and Bjorn and Benny still have the songwriting chops. Jonathan Spurberg, hey guys, music is great, but please give a shout out to all, please. Hey Jonathan, how are you? We're shouting out everybody. So welcome Jonathan via Facebook to the 3324 podcast. So tomorrow again, our new episode is top 5 uncredited cameos in film. Yeah. God, there's so many episodes. It's like swirling in my head. So we do have a giveaway too. So all you need to do to enter the giveaway is put a comment in, and you will go into the Wheel of Names. So Jonathan is going to go into the Wheel of Names.
Wheel of Fortune.
And let me enlighten everybody with what the prizes are tonight. And all you need to do is just be
present. Just say hello. Yeah. That's all you need. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, even if you said hello and left, I mean, it would be okay. But here we go. So main prize tonight is a really neat book, and it's 1,000 recordings to hear before you die. So you may get a lot of mileage out of this, depending on your age or your health. Hopefully you'll get through the whole thing and you'll be able to listen to this. So we'll be giving this away, and this will be randomly picked, and we do it in front of everybody with our Wheel of Names, so you can see the winner right there. If you won during our last outing, we were going to ask you to sit this one out. And then our other prize is going to be the exclusive version 2.0 of the 3324 podcast hat, 3324 podcast stickers, and really the 3324 podcast magnet for the car. I mean, this is, we're doing it all for you guys. The hats are just really awesome. They're actually really nice as well. What happened to Eric? Eric dropped off. Oh, he's coming back in. There you are.
Lost you for a split second, but
yeah,
okay,
I was here.
Here we go. Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, we'll be giving those away. So welcome everybody. And we are talking tonight about rock and roll rivalries. Mm-hmm. And I think when we started looking at the list, or we started talking about the subject, we really were, I could tell you that my thoughts about it evolved. I can tell you that much because yes, there's a lot of rock and roll. There's Andy. Welcome, Andy.
Hey,
welcome,
Andy.
Sean.
Hey, Sean. How are you?
And I think when we think about rock and roll rivalries, I always put it in the ad and in the thing that we put on Facebook is, hey, Beatles versus Stones, bring yours.
Casey.
Wow, Casey, how are you?
Gene. Hello, Gene.
Yeah. I'm filling this up with names. This is great.
We got some good people here tonight. Very good people. Yes.
Welcome, Gene. Let me put you up on here. Yo, Gene, yo. So yeah, we're talking rock and roll rivalries, but we need to expand it, and it's with good reason. I think what we also want to talk about, and if you could see my background, you'll see that's a rivalry. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the research I was doing was also about interband rivalries, right? So, within the band where there were some rivalries, for instance, Roger Waters and David Gilmour.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Jagger and Richards. Right? So I think we're going to go. I think we will go there because I think that's important too.
John DeGoog. Hello.
Hey, John DeGoog. How are you? Welcome, John.
No, that's great. I mean, we can really go all out with this thing. I was wondering what the rules and the parameters were going to be. As always, I'm surprised that you're expanding. You're thinking outside the box on this one.
For anybody that's ever been, our live shows are very loosey-goosey anyway. Yeah. We start off with one thing and then we end up talking about TV shows and TV themes. So it's all good. This is always our jumping off point. So rock and roll rivalries. So I put in the beginning and in our thing, Beatles versus Stones, which is probably one of the first. It's not the first rock and roll rivalry, actually, but it's one of the earliest ones, only because of the British invasion, and everybody was basically copying the Beatles, but the Stones became really popular, and they were almost like the anti-Beatles. They were kind of a little rougher around the edges, but the Beatles were writing songs for them. Oh, we're going to get to this, Jonathan. We will get to the groups and the individual ones as well. Yeah. That's a great one. Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, kept it tight for a while, and then it just exploded in the early '80s, and they got Jimmy Crespo in there, and then they were able to mend fences, and then they're known as the Toxic Twins. So they actually, their name says it all. But yeah, the Beatles and Stones were like one of the earliest rivalries, but the Beatles were actually, the Stones had covered some Beatles songs. So they were in the shadow of the Beatles. I guess the best thing that could happen for the Stones was when the Beatles broke up. Because the Stones kept going. And that's when I think they really started evolving like in a big way because, they were kind of left to carry the mantle. And I think throughout the 60s, I think that the Stones were always in the Beatles' shadow. No matter how great they were doing, what they were doing, I'm not saying their stuff was horrible, but the Beatles cast a long shadow over all those English groups of that ilk.
I could see that, but I think that at the time, the Stones were doing some pretty interesting stuff, though. I mean, it was obviously very blues-based, so they had that side of it.
Yeah,
I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know if I could say that they were in their shadow, so to speak. I think they were pretty much. I mean, if there was one band that stood out among that were close to the Beatles, it had to be the Stones. I mean, because they were. So, but
they both were making the same. When the Stones started out, they were making that kind of poppy music, Mother's Little Helper, and stuff like that. So they were very much in there. And like I said, the Beatles had written. I forget what song it is, but they had covered a Beatles song as well. So that puts you in that arena, right? That puts you like under the Beatles umbrella. Yeah. And they were copying album cover designs and Eric Burdon and Alan Price from the Animals, right? Mm-hmm. Another great squabble. Jonathan's just on fire. He's just like he gave us the 70s or early 80s. Now he's giving us the 60s as well. Here's Andy chiming in. Looks like, let's see. Beatles had the benefit of ending early, right? The Stones just kept going until they were writing 80 songs like Too Much Blood. That was horrible. But to your point, though, Andy, them getting at the Beatles breaking up and the Stones keep going, they really were able to carve out their own sound and really be, the 70s, I think, is when the Stones really hit their stride because the stuff was getting really bluesier, grittier. They were having their share of problems with substances, but I think that really kind of started to set them apart because of their longevity as well. Kind of the same thing with the Who is kind of like, not too many bands made it out like fully. That started in the mid to early 60s, made it through. And the Stones and the Who were one of them, and Daltrey and Townsend famously swung at each other and traded blows, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Daltrey's always.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our condolences to, of course, Charlie Watts passed away recently,
Yeah.
and he had a little swipe at Mick Jagger once, because he said to Mick Jagger, "Don't ever call me your drummer." Like, like I'm like me. I'm not like your drummer. I don't drum for you. I'm in the Rolling Stones.
That's right.
So there's a little snippiness that goes on, but
Gentleman drummer.
yes.
Yeah.
So let's stay with the Beatles though, really quick, because I think behind me is really the rivalry that really matters, is the Beatles and the Beach Boys, because that wasn't a jealousy rivalry. It wasn't a mean rivalry. They weren't enemies. The Beatles and the Beach Boys were a case of two groups inspiring each other to do better and to keep growing. And that was, that's a great kind of rivalry, is when the Beach Boys were hearing what the Beatles were doing and Brian Wilson saying, we got to top that. That's our competition.
Right.
So what are we going to do? And then the Beatles would hear what the Beach Boys were doing and saying, wow, look at, especially when Pet Sounds in the Sgt. Pepper era, if you listen to our Sgt. Pepper episode, right, Eric? I mean,
yeah,
that's when that's a rivalry to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Pet Sounds definitely put it over the top, but yeah, you had one band in America, but even the earlier stuff, like the surfing stuff, the Beatles had their yeah period.
Yeah.
So they were both sort of equal in the growth of what they were doing. So yeah, but you're right. Inspiring. It's cool to see that there was inspiration happening, and not it's like, oh, the Beatles, I hate them because they're whatever. No.
They were taking that.
They loved each other.
It was mutual respect.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what it was. Is these two groups mutually respected what each one was doing and weren't trying to copy it. They were just using it as inspiration. So the Beach Boys weren't saying we got to sound like the Beatles, and the Beatles certainly, until back in the USSR, were not saying we got to sound like the Beach Boys. And back in the USSR was a tribute. And like Jonathan's saying, Mike Love and Brian Wilson, another famous rivalry, right? Because back in the day, Mike Love didn't really get any credit for writing songs that he claimed that he did, and had more input in than he was given credit for. And then famously, there was a rivalry over Pet Sounds where Mike Love was just like, we got to stick to the surfing, the cars, basically stick to the formula. And Brian's like, no, we're moving forward, and to varying results at the time, but now it was a genius move, and one that was necessary, and kept the Beach Boys relevant now. Like, it didn't work in '66 when Pet Sounds came out, but it certainly worked.
Yep. Dwight Burke. Hello, Dwight.
Where's Dwight? Hey, Dwight.
Yeah.
Let me get Dwight in here. Dwight's eligible since he won, a couple of weeks back. So he's back in the running for
he's back in the running.
He's back in the running. Welcome, Dwight. Yeah. So we're talking about, if you're just joining us, we're talking about rock and roll rivalries. And that's either band, and we haven't gotten to the bands that have taken swipes at each other. When we get to the 80s and the 90s, there's that whole stuff going on with people not really getting along, but also inter battles. So what do I have on my list? I had Beatles versus Stones versus Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Right. So it was the Beatles versus the Stones and the Beatles versus the Beach Boys. So I think we've gotten that one out. Axl Rose and Slash, of course. Whoops. There we go. Axl Rose and Slash were famously, Guns N' Roses just imploded. You could even say Axl Rose and Nirvana had some issues. Axl Rose and, who didn't he have a problem with? Bret Michaels and CeCe DeVille from Poison. We're seeing a trend in the 90s.
Yeah, you also mentioned Cream, and there was another. Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce were always at each other's throats. I mean, you're talking with Eric Clapton in the middle, having to deal with their constant arguing, and they're just trying to play over one another, and so that was a big even when they got back together in the 2000s,
still couldn't.
They still could not. That Madison, the Royal Albert Hall show was great, but then when the Madison Square Garden, they just could not stop fighting, and it's just a mess.
So
but it's too bad.
Casey so far wins the internet because he stole one of mine, and it was a big one. The brothers from Oasis, right?
Oh, okay.
Liam and Noel Gallagher are the poster children for not only bandmates that could not get together, but they're brothers. And they were just at each other's throats. And there was one very famous incident. I believe it was for like an MTV concert. I don't think it was an Unplugged, but it was a show that was being filmed. And Liam is the lead singer and Noel is the guitarist. And Liam did not show up for the concert.
Yeah.
So Noel goes out and he's like, okay, I'm going to play. And then Liam is up in the freaking balcony, like heckling from the balcony, heckling Oasis. I mean, is that the ultimate trolling? I mean,
wow.
That is just absolutely crazy. Is not only do you not show up, but then you go into the audience and you start heckling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's messed up. It's just messed up.
That is awful. We got a couple more to get to. So John DeGoe, of course, DLR and EVH and Sammy Hagar, right?
Yeah.
So lots of tension between David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen towards the end of their tenure. We talked a little bit about that in our Van Halen episode. Wow, a lot of easy plugs tonight. So go check that out. Yeah, there was a splitting of the ways there. They ended up getting back together, and then Sammy Hagar comes in, drags David Lee Roth, of course. Hey, he's, not that great. Then those two end up touring together, the Sam and Dave tour. And then they just don't, Sammy Hagar just didn't have a lot to say about David Lee Roth. That's nice anymore.
And he's Megadeth and Metallica, of course.
Yep. Hang on. We got to get Metallica blew GNR's doors off their 92 tour. Little tension there. Simon and Garfunkel, another famous duo that held it together for a while, and then they just could not deal with each other.
Nope.
Megadeth and Metallica. See, we got some stuff going here.
Mm-hmm.
Yngwie Malmsteen and all of his singers.
Iggy Pop and everybody.
There we go. Jonathan just won the internet for tonight. Iggy Pop versus everybody. Iggy Pop and the world. Gilmore and Waters, we just hit on that one too.
Yep.
I was just reading an article today about Roger Waters and how he really said, they didn't really, they were keeping me down. Gilmore was keeping me down. We never got along. They did help with the music, but they really, they were really just basically getting in my way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just, ego, hubris, whatever you want to call it.
Shut the door on the reunion. Shut the door. Priest versus Maiden, right?
Yeah.
British Steel, Priest versus the Number of the Beast. Here's a famous one: is Pearl Jam versus Nirvana. And Kurt Cobain had some not nice things to say about Eddie Vedder, mainly because of the style of music at the time during the grunge era. I believe what Cobain was saying is, they're not really grunge; they're kind of more hard rock.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't understand it. But then supposedly they had kind of cleared the waters before Cobain passed, and they had gotten that to over that hump and kind of mended fences. Here's a big one: Jeezy and Taylor Swift, right? It's Taylor Swift. Kanye West, when she won her Grammy Award, or I forget what it was, a Grammy Award, and he just went on stage and said, yo, hang on. I got to tell you what the real deal is. It should have been Beyonce that won. And that just started a rift right there. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, really? It's like, let the person have their award. Let them have their moment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got one.
Lay it on us.
How about Styx or Journey?
Were they rivals?
I don't know if they were rivals, but what would you think? I mean, they two similar bands, but they're, I wouldn't say that they were rivals. I don't know if they, were, at that point. But I mean, to say who would you prefer, like Styx or Journey?
Oh, it would have
kind of thing. And
if
you put it, okay. but see, that's how I kind of approached my list was two like similar type of bands or artists sort of going at it, like Pink or Lady Gaga.
Sure.
Like who, that's, who do you prefer there?
Yeah.
Like in a sort of like, if it were like a battle of the bands, a theoretical like battle of the bands kind of, that's kind of where.
Yeah, because they were in the same kind of musical space as well.
Yeah.
Van Halen blew Sabbath off the stage back in '78, right?
Yeah.
So that was, that can sometimes cause some rifts where the opening band is better than the established act, and then for some reason they don't like them. Christy, same thing. Billy Corgan and everyone. Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins is just another one. Steve Perry's got the golden tones, though. I love his rock voice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the, and we talked about it on our Styx episode. We said, who would win in a battle of voices? Would it be Dennis DeYoung or Steve Perry? And don't just go with the easy answer of Steve Perry. You got to really think about Dennis DeYoung. And I said it would be a very close race. As much as beloved as Steve Perry is, Dennis DeYoung's got the chops too. Another great one, John Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora. And this one makes me sad because Bon Jovi seemed just like they were just so great together. Like him and Richie Sambora just seemed like they were such a great pair. They worked well together, made great music together. Sambora ended up leaving for some reasons, but never rejoined though. Yeah. Jonathan has taken half of one of mine. He's got Jack White and the Smashing Pumpkins. I've got on my list, I've got Jack White and the Black Keys. He's got a big problem with the Black Keys.
He flat out said that they ripped him off.
He's like, I'll be listening to a commercial and it sounds like my music, but they couldn't get my music, so they used the Black Keys. I mean, he just really went in, like he went ham. He went ham on the Black Keys for years. I was just reading an article of all the different dates and the years and what he said. Even in personal emails to his ex-wife when he was going through a divorce, he was talking about the Black Keys in emails to his wife. He really just had it,
I would tend to agree with him too. I mean,
I like the Black Keys.
But they were. I mean, to me, they sounded.
They sound similar.
Very, very similar.
Yeah, and it's a two-person band. It's a drummer and it's got a lot of the same DNA. Supposedly they mended fences as well, but then I think Jack White started taking swipes again. Gene has got her everyone. It's Courtney Love and everyone. Yeah. and famously Courtney Love and Dave Grohl had some problems too when talking about Nirvana royalties, who controlled the rights. Mm-hmm. He famously wrote a couple of songs about her, I believe, in his Foo Fighters era about it. Sean's going to throw a vote out there, Prince or Michael Jackson. Based on his guitar solo during While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
I actually had on my list. I had it's more of more of an artist approach. It's like a true art, like David Bowie or Prince.
Yeah.
Who would you choose?
Yeah, because I don't know if Prince's career matches up to Michael Jackson's. It's hard. Yeah. It's a hard comparison. Andy just stole one of my last ones on the list. Where did it go? There we go. Kiss, famous for the infighting. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley versus everyone else who has ever been in Kiss, right? Ace Frehley, they continue to drag him. Peter Criss, Vinnie Vincent, they just totally, just can't keep their mouths shut. And then Gene Simmons was starting with David Lee Roth a couple of weeks ago. Saying, we were going to sign and we didn't. Of course, our favorite feuding couple, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, which has flared up again recently.
Which is never ending. The freaking soap opera.
John DeGoog is checking in with the Runaways with Lita Ford and Joan Jett, right?
Yep.
Lita Ford and Sherry Curry have played together a couple times, like Cherry Bomb, this, that, and the other thing, but you don't see Lita Ford and Joan Jett.
Yeah.
John, you could put any two hair bands against each other back in the 80s. Magazines like Metal Edge, Hit Parade, did it every time. Cream was one of those. Lennon versus McCartney, right? Again, they were co-writers and co-leaders of their band.
They had their tension. Yep.
They had their tension. Mark, do I dare mention Lindsey Buckingham? Hello, Mark. Welcome to the 3324 podcast. You are now in the running for.
You can dare to mention Lindsey. He can come up. Well, he should be Lindsey and everyone. I would think. Yeah,
that should be another one too.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Side note: I am going to see Lindsey Buckingham tomorrow, so you will probably see some video. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some decent video. We'll put it on the 3324 webpage. But Lindsey Buckingham concert tomorrow in New York City, his triumphant return. So yes, you do dare to mention Lindsey Buckingham and Jonathan Spurberg. They hate each other. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's the underlying love, but then when they go public with this stuff, they just can't let it go. No, they can't let it go.
They can't.
Everly Brothers.
They love to hate each other.
Yeah. Everly Brothers famously, and we just lost Don Everly.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had their share of issues too, weren't getting along, on and off again. It seems to you would think by the nature of this show that everybody hates each other in their bands.
Yeah. There's very few bands that walk away, sort of unscathed. I mean, everybody's got their tension. Everybody has, the more popular a band gets, there's multiple songwriters in the band. Oh, let's go with the Eagles, or Eagles. Yeah. I mean, it's Don Felder and Glenn Frey. I mean, oh my God, we talked about that in the Hotel California episode. I mean, they're he was ready to kick his ass on stage, right? I mean,
yeah,
the whole bit with
Ronnie Van Zant and Neil Young. Does anybody want to Joe Buckby? Welcome, Joe. Does anybody want to take a guess, except for Joe, because I'm sure he knows why. But what's the reason? What's the problem with Ronnie Van Zant and Neil Young?
Not sure.
Sweet Home Alabama is the song.
Okay.
That references it's in Sweet Home Alabama because they make a specific reference to Neil Young. Southern man, don't need him around here. Wait, hang on a second.
Okay.
Yep, Sweet Home Alabama. There we go. We got some musical savants in with us tonight. And thank you everybody for joining us, by the way. I'm loving the amount of chat because you know why? I don't have to do a lot of work. Stevie stared daggers at Lindsay. Yeah, she did, especially during the dance when she sang Silver Springs. But I think that was a different kind of daggers. I think that was kind of like, yeah, you lost out on a good thing. Sean Grady has a great group that could not keep it together. And we just it was in one of our quick hits was CCR. And that's John Fogerty versus everybody. He just was like, the other members of the band were like, yeah, we want to write. We want to have a voice in this. And you know what John Fogerty said? He goes, go ahead. You write it. I'm not going to play on it, but write the songs and record them. He did. I think it was on their last album or second last. He goes, yeah. Go ahead, write it. You think you're so great? Go ahead and write it. I mean, he really had an attitude about it. It's like, help the guys along. It's like, for crying out loud, they're trying to develop as well. Jonathan, Ronnie Van Zant, and everybody in the band loved to start fights for fun because they were just hard rock, and there's about a 10-second delay on comments. What, me getting them or me putting them up? I'm putting them up as quick as possible. Ronnie James Dio and Ozzy. There's another one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Peter Cetera and Chicago, another split that they never came back together again. I thought for sure Cetera would go back at some point, throw a tour in there, but he kind of left and never looked back. And Chicago still tours. I mean, I'm sure Cetera still does. That's a good one. Peter Cetera and Chicago. Rock and roll rivalries. Oh, you meant to ask me if I ask you a question, it takes a bit to come through. There might be a little bit of a delay, but I'm trying to do it as quick as I can. Be as quick as I can. So just in case if you're joining us late, our giveaway tonight, if you see it in the ticker in the bottom, is 1,000 recordings to hear before you die. This will not do you any good if you're dead already. So I'm just letting you know you need to read this book and hear these recordings before you die. Okay, so that is our one of our giveaways. And then the second giveaway is our 3324 Podcast version 2.0 hat and 3324 Podcast magnets and 3324 Podcast stickers. I mean, you are going to be hooked up with everything for 3324 Podcast. We appreciate everybody checking us out tonight. My gosh, this is really great. We're having a blast.
Yeah. Peter Gabriel and
Genesis. That was kind of a more of a survival thing from Peter Gabriel, right? He had just had a daughter.
I don't think there was any hard feelings.
Yeah, he just had a daughter, and
he just went his separate way. I mean, he was elevating to a whole new level of thought, and he was kind of the band was off doing, like when they did The Lamb. The band was off doing one thing. He was writing lyrics in another room, so they didn't quite gel anymore. I mean, he was like Pete Townsend of The Who, like always thinking over the fence and thinking of bigger and bolder things. So, but I think that when he left, it was hard on them. But they bounced right back when Phil took over on lead vocals. So
Yeah.
so I don't think it was much of a rivalry there. But I will say that his solo work really came out strong. So you could argue that, you know,
He was better for it.
Peter Gabriel, his solo work might have, you know, like in the Genesis of the '80s, there was some real heavy competition there, I think, and I think, you know, Gabriel on his own did much stronger work than Genesis, I think.
Overall.
That's just my opinion. Yeah.
Yep.
But,
Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. David Crosby throwing shots like a couple of days ago, saying that Neil Young, I can't get along with him, I don't like him, or he's mean or whatever. It's just like, God, these guys won't like kind of let it go. And then Gene is, you know, Daltrey and Townsend, right? Again, it becomes a business arrangement, right? Because these guys don't get along for the most part, but they find a way of, you know, doing it. Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, another group of people that did not get along. Styx and Dennis DeYoung, we talked about that. Very famous. They just dragged Dennis DeYoung and will never get with him.
Right.
Unfortunate. What else do you have?
Bob Dylan and everyone. How about that?
I'm not sure. He seems pretty mellow. You know, it doesn't seem like he cares, honestly.
Yeah, I guess I can agree with that, but it's just but I'm just saying, like, you know, everybody else standing in Bob Dylan's shadow as a songwriter. Yeah, you know, that could be, you know, you make a case for that, and you know,
sure. And then anybody that comes out is like the new Bob Dylan, like Dire Straits was like the new Dylan, Steve Forbert was the new Dylan, the brothers from the Black Crowes, right? The Robinson brothers came to blows, I think, at some point. Also, they broke up. Chris Robinson had Chris Robinson's Brotherhood. They toured for a while, and then just recently they mended fences. I think last year. I think it was last year or early this year. The Black Crowes kind of reunited and said, "Hey, you know, Jim Morrison and Society." Well, he was just testing the limits, testing the boundaries. In Doors news, if you are a Doors fan, they just announced that. The 68 special that they filmed at the Hollywood Bowl, it used to be on videotape and it was kind of edited. I believe it's coming to theaters. The complete concert is going to be shown in theaters. I just saw an advertisement for it. That would be nice to see in a theater, is to see the Doors. I think it was the 68. I think it was 68 at the Hollywood Bowl. That would be a nice show to really see. I used to have the videotape of it. I may have even had the laser disc. That's how old I am. Is laser discs were like
Casey Barrow's like very cool. He's all over it. I'm sure Zach is too in the background somewhere.
They haven't announced the dates, but there's like a sign up page where you can put your email in and check it out and give them the info and they'll let you know. But I had just seen the advertisement for it, so that's a good one. If you want to see the Doors on the big screen, that's something that's really neat. Yeah. Other rock and roll rivalries, I guess from within, you know, is where these things start. I guess a band that got along, well, they did kind of have a rivalry. Steely Dan.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of petered out, but it wasn't like a big to do and a big fight. I think they just kind of burnt each other out.
Fagen and Becker.
Yeah, kind of had to go their separate ways for a while, and then they came back and stronger. I think they won a Grammy for like their first album back or something like that, right? Two Against Nature, was that their return album? I think it was.
It was. Yeah, I didn't think it did that well, but I guess it did.
I think it did. I think it won like a Grammy that year or something. But Casey Guns and Axl Rose, right?
Yeah.
L.A. Guns, or is that Tracy Guns? Yeah, I think it's from L.A. Guns and Guns N' Roses. That whole 80s, 90s hair scene, everybody, it was full of testosterone. Everybody was jealous of each other because a lot of the bands looked similar, like Poison and Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and all those hair metal bands, you know, that just kind of White Lion. I mean, they were all just in there, all like trying to get the same customer, basically, right? The same fan and just living these, you know, debauchery. I mean, all these guys were just also expert partiers. So it's going to come down to a mix of alcohol and substances. And then there you go. 38 Special always got along. There's a nice one. 38 Special always got along. Mick Mars and Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. I can't see Mick Mars not getting along with anybody. He's just so low key. U2, they came close to breaking up, but they never had. You never hear of any internal squabbles, right? You never hear that they're fighting. But in between Rattle and Hum and Achtung Baby, they were on the verge of breaking up. They were ready to break up. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what they were going to do. They really were at a loss for direction going into the 90s.
Yeah.
And then it was when they came together and they wrote the song One that really kind of put them back on the path towards saying, okay, we've got some type of a direction. Let's continue. And then the brilliant Achtung Baby came out, which we will get to.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the,
John DeGoog, Ian Gillan, and Richie Blackmore. Oh, yeah.
They couldn't get along.
Christie, Sinatra and Bing Crosby.
Yep. I'm getting there. Rusted Roots still gets going. Let's see. Sinatra and Bing Crosby. And then the other rivalry. So this was a big one. We're going back to the 40s, right? Because Bing Crosby was the established, and this is how it worked. Bing Crosby was the established act. He was a crooner selling tons of records. This young upstart came out of nowhere, out of Jersey, and women were going wild for him. And it was Frank Sinatra. And it was like Elvis level of craziness. And he was like, oh my God, this guy is like out of control and he's not like Bing. And then the same thing happened to Sinatra. Mm-hmm. Is Elvis Presley came into like, what is this guy? He's a wild man. He's out of control. And they thought the Sinatra fans were out of control. And then, Elvis took over for that. And then of course the Beatles took over for that with people just fainting. Schenker brothers, right? Rudolph and Michael. Rudolph from Scorpions, or is it Michael? No, Rudolph, I think, is from the Scorpions. Rusted Roots still gets along. They're just busy with their own individual stuff. They had that song "Send Me on My Way." If you're testing my music knowledge, Ian Gillan,
Queensryche versus Jeff Tate.
Yeah, Jeff Tate was the lead singer for Queensryche. Silent Lucidity, which often was compared to Pink Floyd, very Pink Floyd sounding song, and that was like their biggest claim to fame on MTV. They would play Silent Lucidity all the time. Mm-hmm. Absolutely crazy. They just did not get along as well.
What about your favorite band, Dean? What about Jeff Lynne and the boys in ELO?
He gets along with everybody. They're all they work for him, so there's no fighting. They just need to understand they're paid employees.
So there was no animosity whatsoever.
There was a lawsuit from Kelly Grauka, but afterwards he says he regretted ever doing that. He said he should have never sued to get whatever money he felt he was owed. Should have never done it. It was a mistake. Honestly, he actually regretted it. Let's take this moment for everybody that's joined us, just to let you know that tomorrow we've got a new episode coming out, as we do every Thursday. It is our top 5. We're doing the top 5 uncredited cameos in film. Mm-hmm. So we had a blast with that one, a lot of fun. So join us tomorrow for that. And then every Monday we've got our quick hit come out, which is our new material. It's really short, usually 6 to 7, 8 minutes, usually about a couple of quick subjects, but that we give you that little nugget to tide you over as well. So we thank everybody for joining us as well. Oh God, I love this. I love the conversation. This is just awesome. The material that we're getting. Read his book. You'll see he was now, Jonathan, who is this about? Whose book? You get me caught up on this.
Was always pissed. Is that
Mick Mars? Oh, it might be Dirt. Okay. It might be the book Dirt from Motley Crue about Mick Mars, right? Because that's where he was. I think so. I think that was it. Yeah, Mick Mars and Nikki Sixx. Yeah, the big one, that the last one, like I said, that I had was Kiss, and Kiss versus everybody. They just can't get along with anybody, and now Kiss is saying, well, Kiss is now more of an idea than people. And I think the last statement there was like, well, I wouldn't be, we could have other people be Kiss. It doesn't necessarily mean it's Paul and Gene and these people, that it's more the characters and the show. So they're actually thinking about like continuing Kiss, but like almost like handing the reins over to another group of people, which would be interesting.
Was that Harron
Diaries?
Harron Diaries.
Not sure what that is. What's the Harron Diaries? No. Let us know what that is. I'm not familiar.
We're not familiar.
I thought you were talking about Dirt and Mick Mars. So
we don't know everything.
We try. We don't. We try. We know maybe 5% of everything. So what other rivalries? Okay, let's turn it as we're kind of getting towards the end of the stream.
I have to admit, I was actually kind of thrown by the internal rivalry thing. So I didn't even consider that. I had just made a list of bands that I thought were going, just a theoretical sort of going at each other. So
no, there's a lot there. There's a lot of people that just don't get along. Again, sometimes it's you get boozed up or liquored up, and then you see someone from another band or opening, and things happen, or people say things, right? Or sometimes another famous one is Lady Gaga and Madonna, right? Because Lady Gaga had that song that sounded like "Express Yourself." Was it On the Edge? I think it was "Living on the Edge" or whatever. And Lady Gaga got a lot of flack, and Madonna's like, the Heroin Diaries from Nikki Sixx. Yes, got it. Thank you, Jonathan. The Heroin Diaries. Of Nikki Sixx. And so Lady Gaga and Madonna went a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
And they still do. And people say, Lady Gaga's copying Madonna. Not really. No, I think she's I think she copies. I think Lady Gaga copies Terry Bozzio from Missing Persons. I think that's where she got her look from. Actually, she looks a lot like her. If you look up Missing Persons,
look and her stage, presence.
That's all her.
Her voice, I think, is.
Oh yeah, it's nothing like Madonna's.
I think it's far superior to Madonna's.
Oh yeah,
I mean, and Madonna will probably admit that. I think,
Madonna always said she never had a really strong voice. So, cool. Let me make sure we've got everybody's names in here. We've got, let's see.
Oh, Sean Grady, Brittany, and Christina.
I forgot about that.
There's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah, Brittany and Christina. Yeah. They were both on the Mickey Mouse, the new Mickey Mouse Club with Justin Timberlake, right, and all these other guys. They all kind of came out of that. They were the graduating class of the new Mickey Mouse Club, and then they all both started recording. For this, pound for pound, Christina Aguilera has the better voice. I mean, there's no doubt about it. She can just wail. She could just wail away. But Britney Spears was more popular. See, there's a difference. Britney Spears was much more popular than Christina Aguilera, but Christina had the better voice. Mm-hmm. In my humble opinion. IMHO.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these artists, they base their stuff was more of a dance thing, I think. A lot of, they're the stronger, who's the stronger dancer, the whole stage presence, the show. That's why. Yeah,
then you had you had those boy bands at the time: 98 Degrees, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, whoever else. They were all kind of rivals, probably more in a professional thing because all the same kind of teeny bopper or teenagers at the time liked all those groups, so they were all kind of battling for the same New Kids on the Block. They were all kind of battling for the same customer, as it were. Mm-hmm. Reznor and Manson. Yeah, they have mended fences since, I believe, but they famously did not get along for a while. Christina Aguilera, better voice, right? I mean, she's got a really strong voice.
Hashtag free Britney.
Free Britney.
Casey Bauer.
Pink and all the Tat Queens. I hope it's Tat or Trat. So Eric mentioned that. I think Pink, right? Pink versus who did you said Pink?
Well, I said like in a theoretical thing. Would Pink or Lady Gaga? Who would you rather see?
Yeah.
Like very similar sort of.
Sure.
They both put on the grand show. Lady Gaga with the costumes and the big. With Pink, she's freaking
acrobats. She's
swinging around on a trapeze.
Doing spins and
with
flips.
Her daughter, even. I mean, it's amazing stuff, and she can sing while doing it. And she's incredible.
You got to be physically fit. You got to be
absolutely
physically fit
incredible. Pink. She's
Susie Sue and Dolores O'Riordan. Susie Sue from Susie and the Banshees and Dolores O'Riordan from Cranberries, who unfortunately passed away. Mm. Tiffany versus Debbie Gibson. Wow, John, you're going deep now. Debbie Gibson. I'm going to give Debbie Gibson the win on this one. Mainly because Debbie Gibson wrote her own songs and she produced her album too. I believe she's the youngest producer of an album. I think she may have won a Grammy. Yeah. I think she's the youngest producer on record. I think she was like 16 when she produced her record. I miss Celebrity Deathmatch. This is the closest you're going to come to it. We don't have the claymation figures. Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, they had a famous dust up also. Joe, thank you for that. They weren't getting along. They were kind of trading barbs. And you know what? It's funny. Katy Perry was like the biggest thing, like 5-6 years ago. Taylor Swift is still out there, but Katy Perry, you don't hear much about anymore. It's kind of like she's kind of, I don't want to say her time came and went, but there was a time with Fireworks and Roar and all those songs. She was just everywhere. And then all of a sudden, like, you didn't hear from her anymore. Taylor Swift and Paris Hilton. So I guess we're going to go with Taylor Swift and everybody, because
they're still making headlines and such. But I think, but
Taylor Swift is still active. Yeah, Taylor Swift is still active.
Yeah,
and putting stuff out. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. I didn't get Joe. Wait, hang on. I'm missing somebody. Wait. Joe, I got to get Joe into our drawing.
Yes.
Got to make sure we got to get everybody in here. Joe Buckby.
Taylor Swift and Paris Hilton.
Another feud. Alice in Chains and Nirvana. Again, there's just so many. It's like, those grunge groups, they right? Nirvana versus Pearl Jam, Nirvana versus Alice in Chains. It's got to be Cobain making problems for everybody. Justin Timberlake and the Backdoor Boys. All right. The Police. Yeah, another one that famously
oh my goodness.
We talked about it in our Police. You guys are giving us fodder for free advertisement, because we talked about this in our Police episode as well, that they didn't get along. They really only got back together like for their 30th anniversary just because of the cash register. It was a purely a monetary endeavor. Because I think Sting said it like after the first tours, the first days, like, yeah, this didn't really feel like, like anything. And we didn't even get to rap. East Coast versus West Coast, right? Run DMC versus Fat Boys, Tupac versus Biggie. We didn't even spend any time on the rap rivalries, and those were hardcore. Unfortunately, those were like for all the marbles. I mean, that was serious. That came down to violence. Unfortunately, it really got serious. Like, that's a rivalry that you don't want to have of. It's going beyond the music, but it was epitomized by the East Coast sound and the West Coast sound, with Tupac and Biggie. Linkin Park and Gym Class Heroes. Another one. Again, a lot of these 90s, Linkin Park was like more 2000s, but a lot of didn't Eddie Vedder have some issues? I'm not sure. I hope he doesn't have any issues. I hope he's well. I know that his daughter just did some music for Sean Penn's new thing. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think he had the issue. I mean, it would be Eddie Vedder versus Ticketmaster. If we're talking about a rivalry, is Eddie Vedder versus Ticketmaster was the thing. He was taking on the big concert promoters and said, you charge too much money for tickets. It should be affordable. And they tried to go their own way with it. It didn't really kind of work. It wasn't well executed, their plan for kind of giving, having discounted tickets, or they said Ticketmaster has a monopoly. You can't get it from anywhere else. But but Access TV, well, there's Access now for tickets, and there's a couple other ones. Ticketmaster isn't the only game in town.
Yeah, Metallica they're versus pretty much, Napster. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great one. They really kind of, Cheech and Chong. So Metallica versus Napster was a big thing because, right, that was back in the days of Napster and LimeWire and BearShare, and you can get on the internet with your dial-up modem, and you could download a song for free, and it would take like 15 minutes for like a 3-minute song. And Metallica's like, what are you doing? You're taking money from us. They really brought that to the forefront of trying to make people realize, you might think it's easy and you're getting it for free and you don't have to spend money on it, but you're taking money from us.
I think Gene's the winner here.
Yeah, I'm going to get it up there. Hold on. So Cheech and Chong, but I think they're back together now. But yeah, they did during the 70s, early 80s, very prolific. A lot of movies and a lot of albums. I used to listen to Cheech and Chong in the library. Yeah. Here's one that wins the internet. The biggest rivalry was COVID-19 and live music. That's the big. Last year's rivalry was COVID-19 and live music.
Yep.
Is concerts really, like, pretty much like a rock. Concerts dropped, like everything got canceled. Shows that were, promoters, venues, everything became empty last year. And thank goodness that this year we're finally back to live music, as evidenced by Lindsey Buckingham tomorrow, followed by Lord Huron on Friday. So if you want to know where I'll be and you want to get tickets and you want to meet me, I'll be at Lindsey Buckingham and I'll be at Lord Huron. Dee Snider versus the PRMC, right? That was with the violence and the swearing and the cursing on albums. And they said, you need to put labels on this stuff and warnings and let people know. And Dee Snider went to court. He went to Washington and he testified to Congress saying, what are you guys doing? Like, it's just like, don't get your panties in a twist.
Yeah.
Janis Joplin and Grace Slick. I didn't know they had a, I thought they got along. I didn't know there was a rivalry there, but Grace Slick was, both of them were heavy hitters as far as the bottle went. So, maybe in times of inebriation, they didn't do too well with each other, but, I know Joplin and Morrison, Jim Morrison, to get along because they were just like oil and water, or they were two of a perfect pair,
Yeah. Too much alike. Yeah.
Yep.
Woodstock.
Well, are you talking the original Woodstock or Woodstock 95? Because that was a disaster. Woodstock 90 or 96, whatever it was called. That was an absolute, or 97. I forget what it was. 96. Absolute disaster. Woodstock, because that was just, people were just out of control. Gene has nothing to say. So we did. Let's turn towards niceties now. We're going to be ending up soon, so we appreciate everybody showing up too. Oh, what a great night!
Yeah.
But we just did our REM episode, and we made the point to mention, right, that they just sailed off into the sunset holding hands.
That's right. They very, very, very little controversy coming out of that band. And they just, got along swimmingly. Well, maybe. I'm sure they had their ups and downs, but it's just nice to know that
you never heard of anything. They just said, you know what?
And that's the thing. If you can keep it out of the news, you can keep it off the web. It's like that's a good thing. But every band, I'm sure, has their problems, but sometimes it's just not worth mentioning. Maybe it's just creative difference or something like that, and people tend to blow it up into something more and
yeah, they just put their instruments down and they said, you know what, it's going to be, if it's not going to be quality anymore, we're going to stop. So they just kind of said, yeah, that's it, we're done. We don't have a whole lot to say anymore, and they just kind of like sailed off into the sunset. And a lot of bands, I don't even know if there was a farewell tour. I think they just, like, whatever the last tour was, and they said, okay, we're done. So it wasn't even like it wasn't even like a final cash grab of that type of a thing of, oh, let's go out with a big bang, let's soak everybody, then in 5 years we can come back and get your money again. So they just kind of did it the right way. Freddie and Queen. Which episode are you missing? Is it the REM, Gene, that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think she was referring.
Because we were missing one download, and I think it was you. I think that we were missing one REM download, and that was Gene. We were waiting for Gene. So, yeah, they were never really about the cash REM.
No, they
right?
weren't.
It was,
and you won't see them
it was
come
about
back.
the art. It was about the art. Now that's really what kind of helped with their integrity.
Yeah,
they'll
never do that. They'll never come back and just to do that for whatever. You never.
Yeah, if they do it, you'll know it's going to be genuine,
legit. It's going to be because we want to play with each other again and get out there and just. And,
what do they want to do?
Hey, get your mind out of the gutter.
Was that just a big thing of vodka that you just drank from?
That's water, my friend. Water.
Okay.
Vodka.
We could do a show on bands that retired and came back and toured. John, I don't know if we have enough time to do that because you know how many bands said, oh, we're done. We could do a whole show about how many times Elton John retired and unretired.
Yeah.
Although we could. Yeah. How many? Oh, my God. Beastie Boys got along. Well, where'd it go? Yep. Beastie Boys got along. Right? There was never that they were in it. They were like the Three Musketeers to Beastie Boys. They were in it to win it. And you never heard anything about that. They were just true collaborators, and it was an equal split too. It was like a three-way split. You never really heard that. You never really. At least in my mind, as far as the Beastie Boys goes, I never thought of. I had my favorite Beastie Boy, but I never thought there was a leader of the Beastie Boys.
Right.
Right. Like
you
had Ad Rock, you had MCA. and you had Mike D. But I never thought like, oh, MCA was my favorite, but I never thought of him as the leader. I never thought of any of them as the leader. And usually in a band like that, eventually someone will take control and kind of rise, and that's where the animosity starts. And it never really happened.
No.
Dave Matthews Band gets along, right? Well, these are happy stories. We're going to end the night on happy stories.
Let's see. Kiss is an example. Number 1. Dave Matthews Band.
I think they get along.
Pretty much, yeah.
Ozzy's No More Tours 2, right? So Andy's talking about, retiring, unretiring, and coming back and re-retiring. I think Bowie, retired a couple of times.
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
There you go. Alvin and the Chipmunks. They got along. No, but because it was already established that Alvin was the lead, and then the Chipmunks were the other one. So it wasn't like the Chipmunks and then they're battling. It wasn't like one day it was Theodore and the Chipmunks. It was always Alvin and the Chipmunks, like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, right? It wasn't Benmont Tench and the Heartbreakers. He was always going to be a Heartbreaker. So the Chipmunks were always going to be the Chipmunks, and Alvin would be the leader.
Yeah, Dave Matthews Band, all best friends. That's cool. I think you'll find a lot of the jam circuit they're all pretty chill. The Dead were chill. They Fish, Derek Trucks Band, Tedeschi Trucks Band, they all get along swimmingly, and they play with one another. They just sort of integrate bands, and it's one big cool, just, jam fest, like just chilling. And I love that. I love the spirit of that. The collaborations that come out of that, I think, is great.
Yeah.
So you don't really hear a whole lot of like infighting or anything going on in that sector of music, in that corner, so to speak. But that's why I think that's why I kind of like that stuff. It's like you could go to that stuff and just
you don't have the preconceived drama. You don't have the drama.
Exactly. You could just
the preconceived notion.
Right. You could chill out yourself and just listening to this stuff and appreciate the fact that they love each other. They're doing it for the music and to please the fans and not. Well,
I think all the bands do it for the music. I think that's what keeps them together. I think that's I think that was the point of this show, was that look at all these people that Def Leppard gets along, and Rick Allen would give his arm and a leg to. Oh wait, I didn't mean that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Traveling.
So I think the point we're making, though, and to Eric's point, is that we're talking about all these bands that fought and came to blows and couldn't get along and this and the other thing, but in the end, they were making great music, and that's how they came. That was the thing that bound them together, was the creation of the music and having that creative outlet. We got an oh my god from my Rick Allen. At least people got it, and Sean's saying it's too soon to talk about Rick Allen and his accident.
Traveling Wilburys, everybody, Roy, George, Tom,
Bruce, and Jeff Lynne. Yay, save the best for last, Jeff Lynne. I think that's the point, is that the music is what brought these people together, even though the personalities didn't necessarily mesh, or maybe in the beginning it was hunky-dory, and then you spend too much time, or the business of music gets in the way. They still were putting out the music, and we can be happy for that.
Unfortunately, there's still a lot of bands, though, who will lay claim to what they did. I did this, but he got the credit. So there's still a lot of that kind of animosity unfortunately still happening in a lot of these older bands, and a lot of the bands that we love, and we always talk about this. We pick the winners. We always pick the worst.
We love the dramatic bands. That's the thing. I think we love we love the intrigue that goes along with it, and the backbiting and the backstabbing and the re-recording.
It's a reality show, man. It totally is. Come on.
It absolutely is. Oh goodness. Oh, I think we've hit it. I am impressed with the chat and how much they brought. Really
great people tonight. Yep.
You guys really did the heavy lifting, and I'm so happy. So much stuff, so rapid fire too. This went so quick that I almost can't believe that we're going to be shutting it down a little bit. Anthrax gets along. I played softball with Scott Ian from Anthrax back in the day. Anthrax used to rehearse in Hastings. They had a rehearsal space. And when I worked for Crazy Eddie, that's how long ago that was.
Oh, crazy.
It was a Crazy Eddie softball game, and Scott Ian from Anthrax was there. And I didn't really know who he was at the time. It's just this dude with a long ponytail is pretty short. But
didn't you met Tommy Shaw? Didn't you meet Ace Frehley at one point too?
Deliver pizza to Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
A lot of pizza, delivering pizza to a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, he lived in Ardsley, didn't he? Ace Frehley?
He lived. Yeah. He lived in Irvington, and then he moved to Greenburgh.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Anthrax gets along. Almost all the members are out there touring. That's great. That they've been able to keep it together. That's just a great thing. Is that when bands really kind of can get along and understand, and manage the business end of it. I think sometimes, the business end gets in the way sometimes, right?
Of course.
You talk about, we talk about with Eagles, with the royalties,
mm-hmm.
And who's getting a share and how much are they getting and what's my cut and what's my contribution. I get one song per album. So eventually that stuff starts to create a backlog. It happened with the Beatles with George Harrison too, right? I mean, the guy puts out a triple album for his first album.
That's right.
That should. I mean, he had that much stuff backlogged that he wasn't able to get out there and kind of give to the masses. And he was Bob Seger loved all his band members. Oh, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, yeah,
mm-hmm.
Like a rock, absolutely like a rock. Love some Seger. His voice now I was thinking about going to see him, but he's another one. And before we went on, Eric and I were just talking about Genesis and Phil Collins and their new tour.
Mm-hmm.
And how things are not, we're not going to belabor it, but how it's not going well. Bob Seger is on his final tour. I think he maybe just finished it up or is on his final leg or he did it already. His voice, just because of the way he sings as well, he's got a really throaty vocal delivery. And nowadays it's not the same, and it's too bad, but hopefully, we've got the older stuff to keep us going. So what do you say? We're going to give some stuff away? You have any final thoughts?
Let's do it.
Did you have a final thought? Sound like you were going to...
No, I think this has been great. I mean, it's like you said, they did all the heavy lifting, so it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome. So what we're going to do, again, we've got some housekeeping. Is tomorrow we've got a new episode, Top 5 Uncredited Cameos in Film. So we want you to check that out. Tentatively, I think what our next episode will be about. We're gonna be doing our next live show. I'm sorry, our next live show will be books that were made into films.
The best adaptations.
Adaptations of books into films, and we'll probably get to the worst ones too because we got to talk about the stinkers. We can't acknowledge how great something is without
the
saying
worst
how
are the best, right?
Exactly. We can't acknowledge the greats without knowing how shitty some other ones were. Right? We won't have a measuring stick. So in 2 weeks, and that'll be on September 29th, we will be doing novels or books that were made into movies, the best and the worst.
Oh, I knew you'd like that one, Gene. I knew Gene would love that. Yes. Yep. Looking forward to that
they all get along. Now, I'm sorry. And then that'll be our last show for September. Then October, we're just going to be doing a whole bunch of Halloween fun stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
We've got a fun, a kind of a fun, we're going to be calling it the Monster Mash, which is going to be our last show before October. We're going to basically pit some monsters against each other. We're going to ask for your help in which monster would win. We're going to do it randomly. We're still working it out. Maybe we'll get a scorecard that we can distribute to everybody and they can kind of play along with us. Got to run. Thanks,
Casey. Thanks, buddy.
Let me tell you, if you do win, just reach out to us on Facebook Messenger. We'll tag you in the post anyway, and you can do it the night before Gene's birthday. So happy birthday in advance. Count me in. I'm a bookworm. Great, Jonathan. We love to have you. Jonathan, thank you for all the interaction tonight. We really appreciate it. Really great job. Yeah. Well done. So this is what we're going to do. Since you are a bookworm, we're going to do this randomly. We do it above board, and we put it on the screen so you can see. So we're going to be giving away the 1,000 recordings to hear before you die. And as much as tempted as I was, I did not crack the spine. This is brand new. I did not open it. As tempted as I was to look at some of these recordings, I stayed away. And then we're also going to give away a 3324 podcast swag pack, which is our version 2.0 hat, which is really nice. I love the coloring on it. I wear it all the time. 3324 podcast stickers and 3324 podcast magnets for your car. You have to put it on your car. That is the rule. You cannot put it on your refrigerator.
These things, they're strong. I mean,
yeah,
through storms, and the thing is still hanging on there.
I've been through two tropical storms with it, and it's still on there.
Quality stuff.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get the wheel of names going. So we're going to show that on our stream. And if everybody can see that, let me know. And that is everybody that has left a comment tonight, except, unfortunately, for John, Tagug, and Christy. They won the last time out. So we're going to ask you to sit this one out. So, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to spin. We're going to shuffle these names up in random order. See that? And then we're going to go ahead and spin. So you ready? We're going to do the book first. So this will be for the 1,000 recordings to hear before you die book. What we're going to ask is if you are the recipient of the prize, is please, for some reason on Facebook Messenger, we can't message people, but we can receive the messages. I guess they don't want people spamming people. So we're going to ask you to reach out to us. We'll get your address and we'll get the prize out directly. So here we go. Number 1. This is for the book. And it is Andrew Cremines at Andrew Cremines Art on Instagram. Check him out, Andrew Cremines Art and Instagram. Free plug. So Andy won is the winner of the book. So we removed you. We've removed you from the running. So congratulations. Kick
ass. Nice.
Joe says thank you. Also, we're gonna go for the
Christy Dagnabbit
for the 3324 swag pack. So thank you for everybody. But we have removed Andrew from the running, so your chances have just improved. Okay, by 1. So we're gonna shuffle up the list, and here we go. This is for the 3324 swag pack. Mark. Mark is the winner of the 3324 swag pack. I will be able to get that to him very easily.
Fantastic.
Yes. So thank you everybody. We appreciate always your support. And it's growing and it's fun. And we love the feedback. We love the interaction. It is a blast. Thank you, John. John, thank you for your support. We appreciate you checking us out as well, and going back and listening to those podcasts. I got to let everybody know, just before, as we close out, we are on the cusp of another milestone. So if you haven't checked out any of our other episodes, please do. We are really exponentially growing in our downloads. We're always putting out episodes new week, but we're going to be celebrating a milestone very soon. So thank you, Mark. Thanks for great show. I'm going to thank you guys for a great show. Honestly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need to thank Jonathan,
especially
Mark,
Jonathan,
great Jonathan, everybody, John Robert, Joe Buckby, Christy, Andy, Sean Grady, Casey,
Gene.
Elizabeth Berg, Gene Keene. Just so many people, such great interaction. So I really love it. Thank you, Sean, for everything too. We appreciate it. So we're gonna let everybody go, and we're gonna thank you for your support. And again, one more show tomorrow. Top 5 uncredited cameos.
Yeah, this one was great. We had some interesting picks. So curious to see what you guys think. Give us some feedback on it, if you will.
Yeah, and if you've got live show ideas, pass them along.
Absolutely.
This was a listener live. Well, actually, this was Eric's idea, but the next week is from a listener, and one in the past was from a listener as well. So you know what, we want, if you've got some fun discussion material, bring it on. Music, movies, TV, whatever it is. So we're gonna thank you everybody. For Eric. Wait, I gotta go back 1 second. Hold on, let me go to the chat. Let me clear that. I made that mistake last time. There we go. I know a bunch. What time? just hit us up. Hit us up on Facebook if you've got some ideas.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, in 2 weeks we'll be doing novels and books that were made into great or not so great films. And we will see everybody next week. And we're gonna leave you with our official exit footage here. Where, if I can find it, there we go. Everybody, take care. Stay safe. We will see you live in 2 weeks.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 Podcast and on Twitter at 3324P to join the conversation.